Cool.
It's cool.
And just wait out, starting.
And we are live.
Finally.
Welcome to our show. And it's the eve of Chinese New Year.
Yes.
Thank you so much for making time.
Yeah.
And for our guests who have just joined us, do like and share this post as we begin the start of this new Chinese New Year with new measures in place. And how can we still remain in contact virtually, offline, online, and build meaningful connections. So a topic that's close to my heart because I've got family and friends who are actually overseas. My mom, who's not able to join us this year, and my brother, in Indonesia. So I thought, how can we establish meaningful connections with relatives that are in Singapore today? Yeah.
Yes. I didn't know until now because my mom and my sisters are in Canada as well.
Oh wow.
Yes, and I have a brother in KL and I've got a sister here. So it's it's all over the place.
So if you're in the same position as us with relatives and friends that are overseas, type in the chat below and say, hey, I feel you. And if it's something that you're actually going through, send us some love to say, hey, I just want to know more about how to connect meaningfully today. So this episode is actually a special edition, our first time ever.
Yeah.
Just like my first time on Facebook Live. This is the first time ever that I'm not changing.
She got me changed though.
and she said
I didn't come in there, by the way. And it's lovely.
it's lovely.
It's lovely.
So I've chosen something for you that has a sweetheart neckline.
Okay. Neckline.
So that gives you a neckline that looks longer, taller, and slimmer.
Were you thinking about that when you were actually picking up a piece from it?
Yes.
Okay. She was sussing me out just now. Okay. Yeah. I came in a shirt just now, so thank you. I actually feel a bit more feminine. A lot more actually sitting beside you.
So to a guest who just joined us, okay. Today's topic is meaningful connection, and with us we have Cheesiah, okay, who is a guest, and she has been helping families, relationships, leadership, change management, dealing with people for 24 years. 23, 24. And just like Rose or Sharon, we've been around for 24 years.
Yay.
And between us, we share, 48.
That's a good number.
48 number of years of
working with people.
Yeah,
different capacities, yeah.
Yeah, and she develops people inside and out, and I help women look good outside and in.
Yes.
So if you have a burning question for us on how to create meaningful connection, type in the chat below, right? We will try to answer the question. So this is the first for us.
Yes.
And we have not actually met physically until 3 days ago on Sunday.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
that's right. Yes.
It can be awkward at times when you meet someone for the first time. And what do you talk about, right? What do you say to the person without making them feel intrusive, like you're asking too much information, but yet you want to know them and how they view life, what do they see for themselves, and be able to help them where they are and perhaps share and learn stories from one another. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, then I thought we hit off pretty quickly, quite well, on the first. Yeah, I think our first met was on the corridor when we passed each other. It's like, I think it's you. We were all we were all both masked up. Yeah. So do you remember that?
Yes.
And then I thought, and I think one of the things that really sort of helped in making that quick connection, even though we're strangers, so called, right? Is that prior contact, even through Zoom, so actually you can really get to know each other pretty well through Zoom sometimes, just depending on what you share.
It's true.
Right?
It's true.
Yeah, and I thought there are just certain things that sometimes I think the young people call it vibe. Our generation calls it like chemistry. Right? Yeah. But nothing beats face to face.
That's true.
Yeah.
So okay, so how this connection started, right? We have a mutual friend.
Yeah.
Okay, if let me see whether this person is online. Okay.
He's on holiday.
He's on holiday now.
He's on holiday.
So he won't be able to see us online.
He just might. I think he doesn't rest.
Okay, so so to his friends.
Yes, I think we know who we're talking
live,
about.
You know who you're talking about. Come and say hi to us. Okay,
Yeah.
so I also want to ask you, right? You being a mom and a woman at the workplace, when you first had your children,
Yeah.
and you have to bring them go home visiting. And one of the first things you do is ask you, where are we going, mom? Who are they?
Yeah.
And why are we here?
And every year you repeat the same pitch. This is who, and this is who, and this is who. And yes.
And they probably won't understand
Yeah.
why are we visiting these people.
Yeah.
We only see once a year.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
And the first thing they get to their homes, right, when we visit them, they probably ask our children, okay, if you didn't know, or which school are you in?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
you've grown
standard.
taller?
Yes. So big already. Yeah. So.
And how do you as a parent, okay, this honest question, right?
Yeah.
Help your children understand that they're not here just to take ang pao.
That actually came much later, when they know the value of money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right?
But they're
Yeah.
here an extension of the fruitfulness or the life that they have sown into you, and therefore these are your fruits. How do you showcase that?
You mean to the kids?
To the
mostly,
kids.
Yeah, to the kids. Yeah. I think since when we started with the kids since young, it became a routine.
Yes.
And the ritual for them. So my kids haven't really asked as much in terms of why do we need to go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just they happen to have kids or cousins of similar ages.
Yep.
Right. So the nice thing is, as they get to know each other year after year, they start to actually look forward to these visits. Right. And then our visits ended up kind of we have to go to the next house, but can we stay longer and go to the next house? Can we stay longer here? So I think when we as parents treat it as something that we treasure, right? And that when we are in the space of family, we create the environment by which the kids enjoy being there, it becomes part of the family tradition, right? So it just becomes a natural place for them to be during New Year.
Yes.
And now when we don't have the visits, it's kind of oh, we don't get to see them this year, so we haven't had to not visit, except last year, I think. Last year, because my father passed away.
Oh, yes.
So I didn't go and my son didn't go, so they visit some of them but not all of them. Yeah, and then they go, and then this year if we don't see each other again, it'll be 2 years without seeing each other. So to the kids, it's actually a natural part of yeah.
So in building meaningful relationships, how do you help them connect that they are not just there to just be present?
Yeah.
But how do you help them create that these aunties and uncles actually have played a part in their life growing up? How do you help them see that?
Yeah. Actually, personally, I find that it is easier for the kids to actually have that connection with the adults if we don't force it.
Okay.
Right? So sometimes the common scene that we see is call auntie, call uncle. Ayo, so impolite, why like that?
Okay.
Then the children actually ends up not liking the visits.
Okay.
Right? So we're just kind of okay, when you go, these are the people that you will be seeing, so this is who and who and who, how we're related.
Yes.
So it just kind of started out that way. It becomes just a very natural part of the visits.
Okay.
Right? As they get older, then we start to tell them the story about, behind this person, that person.
Okay.
Yeah, and it just becomes a very natural.
So from what I gather, okay, the word natural, that it seems that you model meaningful relationship at home.
Yeah.
So the children are able to connect with people of different ages because it's something that you already model at home.
Yeah, and at different stages of their life.
Okay.
You as they grow, when they're younger, then they're older, and they're older.
So I
Then
mean,
have
I
a
understand
different-
you parent. I mean, you do parenting workshops, and it's common to say that kids are always on their devices, quote and unquote, and they, when you kind of call them, they don't answer you. Might that be true for your children?
we are quite actually hands-free when it comes to gadgets.
Yes.
However, there are certain contexts that we let them know ahead of time that this is not the time you use your phone, and they are usually very obliging.
Oh, you got great kids, man.
Yeah, it's training. So that's a whole different topic about gadget use, right? So it is about when they feel respected, just on a daily space. So it's not a once a year kind of situation. So when that connection is built, like as you mentioned, like as a connection is built in a home front, it gets transferred out easier. So it becomes really difficult when there's no meaningful connection at home. And then suddenly, once a year, go see must like behave yourself. So the kid would, like, especially teenagers, would find that like super,
So I suppose,
Yeah.
right, in every household, okay, there are different topic themes that you're already carrying meaningfully every day. Be it their own personal development in their academic schoolwork or their own personal growth in the skill set that they have. Okay, or the way that you develop a meaningful relationship by bonding through activities.
Yep.
So which area does your family focus mainly on? Bonding activities, their own personal skill set growth that you work with them, or the academic side?
The bonding happens across all.
Okay.
Right. So it is not a separate thing by itself.
Yes.
So during academic, we bond. Right. So when you're helping with a child and he or she is stuck in something, how we interact with the child, how we support the child, that is bonding. That's building trust. When they're doing personal development, be it Bible study, or be it they're reading up something and we have a discussion.
Yes.
And then when their views are being respected, when they're able to share what they're thinking that they know that mom doesn't agree with, bonding happens. Right? When they're activity. So bonding is not like specifically an activity, sort of like a single up.
Yes.
It sort of happens across the day. So whatever activity you do, it is the relational aspects of the.
So it sounds that you are actually intentional in building that relationship with your children.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
intention is a big part of building relationship, meaningful relationship. Intentional.
Yeah. Otherwise, it will just happen like either way.
Okay.
I think it could, yeah.
So I think one of the key ingredients that I kind of understand from Cheesiah, she says that it's natural, but actually there's a lot of intention behind it to build good values.
So it's natural for the kids, but it's intentional on my part.
Yes.
Yes.
So so I guess the same goes for relatives as well. Yeah. So the topic that how to build relationships with our relatives that you only see once a year, it's can't really just happen over a cup of coffee or tea on that 2 hours. I think
Or meal.
or a meal.
meal.
But during the year, right, we can actually begin with an end in mind that we would want to meet up with them either birthdays.
Yeah. Well, I guess that there are, even the once a year meetups, there are those who we can do that with, right, a little bit closer ones, and there are those we literally just see once a year. So there are different levels of closeness even with extended family, because it can be a pretty big size depending on the size of the extended family. Yeah.
So I mean, I guess the idea for our audience today, they feel they have nothing to say to relatives at times.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's normal, right? Sometimes it's that I don't feel like talking. I had a long, week, and I just want to approach Chinese New Year. There are two types. All excited, being able to be connected, and also very solemn and say, hey, I just want to sleep. Right. So in that given space, do you want your children to do your children even say I don't want to connect? How would you help them?
It's perfectly fine for me if they go there and they're not in a good mood. And then they just go in and say the normal typical hello, kung si fa sai, happy new year, and then they go to a corner and sit by themselves. I'm perfectly fine with that because not everybody is social.
Really?
Yeah, and then I think for kids, for us adults to force the kids or to make the kids do certain thing or behave a certain way, to me more often than not it's more of a face issue for me because when my kids are not showing respect, it kind of reflects poorly on me as a parent more than anything, right? And I don't feel like I need to be obligated to show off my kids once a year to kind of like why this cousin did that cousin, how come your kid like chill guys. Right? And what can these 2 hours show like I'm not here to showcase my kid, right? But I would make it that they need to be there because it's a commitment. So commitment doesn't mean that you have to always like it, but commitment means that you need to show up.
Okay.
Yeah, as part of the family.
So
right?
part of creating a meaningful connection, we have to be intentional. There's a level of commitment to the relationship so that we can be present for the audience because you're already there. So that 1 hour or that 10 minutes being present for your relatives or your friend, okay, maybe an encouragement to them could be, let's say someone is actually, for example, the kid is really, really tired, and as an adult, right, how I could actually connect with, I think the first thing I'll offer them a drink.
That would help.
That would help,
Yeah.
right? And just say that, hey, this is the latest Coke size.
Yeah.
Find out what children like to drink. I think that will help put them out. Giving them a tangible drink can actually spark a conversation. But there'll be times when the child says, no thank you, my mom says I can't drink fizzy drinks. Might that be true?
Yes.
That cuts away the next level of conversation.
Yes. So I think at that point it's actually more important for the adult not to go, it's okay lah, it's only once a year. Then it puts the mom in a very difficult position. And then the child comes, hey mom, auntie asked me to drink, can or not? What's mom supposed to do? Cannot. Say no to auntie, right? So sometimes I think connection, the only one that you can really have an effect on is your own intention, right? So if it is adult to child, I think the first intention is to not compare, not to do the typical, how you what school you go? Such a good school, yeah, you must be very smart, very clever. Not such good school. Oh, okay, what school is that? There are things like, hey, how has your year been? How are you adjusting to school? Instead of the standard typical kind of like, yeah.
I think 80% time we're all guilty of, wanting to know the latest updates. It's almost like beginning of the year, okay, which school, which class, what subjects, what's,
Yeah.
The investigative. All right. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Actually, there's nothing wrong with that. It's really normal. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that. But here today, we just say, can we be different? Can we establish beyond meaningful? The usual questions to having a meaningful connection.
Yes.
So today we're just here to find out from Cheesiah. Okay. So Cheesiah is a marriage counselor, parenting counselor as well. Okay, and she has actually shared with us 2 areas. Okay, relationship is through modeling. It starts from the home. Relationship is intentional to make it meaningful, and there's also a commitment on our part. Okay, to be intentional. It does not happen naturally. Okay, and one of the things that we want to be able to showcase during this Chinese New Year, that we want to care and connect. Okay, and how we can do that is, as Cheesiah says, identify with the adult. Maybe there's some struggles they're going through by asking them, how's your year been? And not so much that we can solve, but sometimes be the listening ear and acknowledge the struggle as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's the yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I just want to expand a little bit on the investigative aspects you mentioned. I think yes, it is normal. It is natural However, we could actually ask some of these questions in a more engaging way, so that kids are more willing to speak with us. Like it's like, hey, how has your been? Are you in set one? Instead of what school, what class? How do you enjoy it? How are you adjusting? Are you finding making friends easier? Do you have like friends that go up with you? Like things that take interest in the child as a person.
Yes.
Not in terms of just what the child does.
Yep.
Right, and sometimes we also want to be aware that there are other kids around, and when you start kind of like, well, what school? What's such a good school? And the other one is like, oh, okay, haven't heard of it. It gives a lot of messages to the kids, right? So really, how can we be curious and be interested in the child and in the person I'm connecting with? Right, it may not be able for everybody, but at least in the one or two that I speak with, I could be more intentional. Yeah, that's.
So what helps me is when I meet my nephew and nieces. Yeah, my nephew and nieces. So we will start with activities.
That's a great way.
So activities are.
What do you guys do?
For my nephew and nieces.
Yeah, what do you
So
do?
for example, they're picking up new skills, say guitar.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So share with me, how has the journey been? And they say, oh no, it's really tough. My fingers hurt. Oh, okay, So but now that you have gone through the pain stage, are you enjoying your music?
There we go. Yeah.
So then they get to show,
Yeah.
and of course ask for permission, Okay, the next thing, of course, being the answer, I want to hear them play, right?
Yeah.
They may not be comfortable because they may not have felt they have achieved that level. So maybe I will actually just share that, will you be comfortable? You may not have practiced every part of it, but is there a chorus that you like to share and hear the sound of the guitar?
That's
So-
very respectful.
Yes.
Of the child, yeah.
Yeah, so normally when we ask for that permission, rather than play la, they were like no la.
Yeah.
So we just have to share with them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm interested, and I may not be a musician myself, but I like music. Or what kind of genre are you playing, and where do you pick up your skills from?
Yeah.
In terms of growing that skills. So when they say, oh okay, they feel comfortable, they are not being compared to. They can be themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's something that they are interested in.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And then in that, then we can start to share something of our own interest in music if we have.
Yes.
Or if not something that, actually at that age I also picked this up. So then you just kind of keep a casual conversation happening, right? Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question which is like a burning question.
You do.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So what happens if you had a conflict with one of your relatives?
Okay.
And you have to see that relative.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
The conflict could be something. Actually, maybe the relative even forgot.
Okay.
But you're still holding
You're
it.
still holding on. Okay. Yeah.
But so have you experienced something like that for yourself?
Well, honestly, in the big family, there are bound to be people that I don't get along or don't see eye to eye.
Okay.
And that's perfectly fine. So in the spirit of just celebration,
Okay.
we would just remain cordial to each other.
Okay.
Yeah, and
But
that's
what do you do with that thorn in the thing in your heart? Do you actually tell yourself, I'm gonna let it go, and but then you see the person, you actually feel the thing again?
then you know that you haven't let it go, right? Yeah, so that's a clear indicator that maybe it is something that you would need to learn to let go on your own, or there is something that you need to work out with this relative.
So what would
But
you do?
It depends on how close this person is.
It's relative lah.
It depends on what is the direct impact the person has on like my life. So there are, so if it like to me, if it's just once a year thingy and it's just because we don't see eye to eye, I would probably just keep it that way. Yeah, because for the rest of 364 days, it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Right. But if it is somebody who is close to like maybe my spouse or somebody who is still part of my life, then it is not a Chinese New Year issue. This won't be a once a year issue.
I think have you ever tried actually going up to the person, okay, and say, hey, I actually felt upset over this incident, and I'm trying to reconcile that emotion. Would you actually do that?
Yeah, but not on Chinese New Year. Yeah, I think that would happen for any relationships.
Okay.
Any relationships that is meaningful to me, that will have an impact either in like my family, right? Especially the kids are watching, and the kids know about it. So it is something that I would work towards reconciling,
Oh, wow.
right?
Brave woman.
But I think it's probably not just family members. I think it's just relationships in general.
Okay, true.
Right. Yeah, it's just a general principle of that. But yeah, I think on Chinese New Year Day, I would probably just keep everything light and polite and keep some comfortable distance. If I know I get triggered easily by certain things.
I see. Okay. So what triggers you? You look generally quite happy.
I look I'm actually generally quite like
Easygoing.
easygoing. I don't get triggered easily.
No?
Yeah. Well, when my kids were younger, before I had a shift in my parenting, like that's why when I mentioned to you, my kids is actually like they are almost like the results of my parenting.
Okay.
So when they were younger, I would get upset if they would visit with a black face, or they're not happy, or or the way they're not tired. Suddenly go into people's house, they get tired. I was like, what's this? Making your mom look very bad, right? So it was a lot about me instead of about them. Yeah. So those used to trigger me a little bit. Yeah. But
So okay, back to 2021. Now with 8 visitors.
Yes.
They're given each time.
Yes.
And maximum two sets
Two
of
set-
8,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How are you spending Chinese New Year this year? Are you visiting or someone's coming to your house?
We have 3 visits, so I will have one dinner tomorrow night with my sister, and then another one on 初二 and then 初三. 2 on 初三, so I've got 4 visits. So again, these are the things that we tell our kids ahead of time. They get the time,
Okay.
who are we seeing, right? So they have that mental prep that who they'll be seeing and what they're up to.
So
Yeah.
I really hear right from you that is establishing meaningful connection. There's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of commitment. There's a lot of intention. It doesn't happen naturally. Might that be true?
For the family, yes. But if you're just talking about the once a year visit,
Yes.
I think with only 8 people in the household, we can be even more intentional in having a more in-depth conversation. Maybe not with everybody, maybe just with 1 or 2, whom every year you just say hi bye, kind of, you just come out, hey, intentionally sit down beside this person. So how has COVID been affecting you? Like, are you still working from home? And just gonna start off a slightly longer conversation.
I mean, for the audience
Yeah.
out there, right, building meaningful connection, I think I have learned doesn't just happen naturally. Like it doesn't happen like a tap. Okay, it actually begins with ourselves wanting to connect with another person, and we must have an intention on why we want to do what we want to do, because relationships are. The word Chinese 人 is like it's 2 stroke, right? We need to have that connection that makes us human. Yeah?
Yes.
So it's very profound
Absolutely.
in Chinese.
Yeah.
So when we have that connection, then there's an aspiration, and with that aspiration, we spur each other on to be better version of ourselves. So meaningful connections doesn't just talk about updates. That's kind of get it through other. You can get it through the news. You can get it through our
IG, Facebook.
IG social media
more.
feeds. Okay,
Yeah.
so that already happens. Okay,
Yeah.
but that doesn't represent the human connection. And what I have learned from you today, that we have to be very intentional. We have to kind of show up with the person's emotions at play, right? Really understanding what is it that you like or what forms you, and making you comfortable to be able to share it with trust.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm learning.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think to someone it's just really about taking interest in one person. Like if all else is too much, then make the effort to get to know one person a little bit more this year, or allow yourself to let somebody know a little bit more. So share a little bit about yourself. Like go and prepare one thing that you have learned this year.
Yes.
Or COVID or whatever, and say, this is important to me. How about you? You know,
Yeah.
just take that extra effort to make that.
So I would broadly say that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that if you're already having a good relationship with your relatives, continue to spur each other on,
Yes.
right? But there are definitely households that you might feel a bit awkward. Yeah. That the thought of it might already say, hey, you know, should I even be going, you know? That kind of awkward thought. Yeah. Let's put that aside. Because here we want to establish meaningful connections. The reason why we do that is if you have had children, you want them to have model a good relationship building skill, or even you don't have children, yeah, and you want to build a new skill for yourself to actually learn how to connect with another person. So be intentional. Brings a topic of okay, I mean, we can talk about COVID, right? But I think what is meaningful is maybe it's a personal story that you have gone through yourself, and you can actually say, hey, you know, if you don't mind, I actually went through a very difficult time. I can share that with you. You know, if you don't mind, you can share something that you have overcome as well. So at least when we are open in preparing a take home, I guess for myself, I mean, we just share.
Please do. I was going to ask you, you know. Go.
I mean, you know, running, because I run a retail store, right? And during COVID, we had to close. So it was through Facebook that allowed me a platform to connect with my customers.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was really uncomfortable being online, having a face-to-face conversation, and I just didn't know what to say.
Okay. Yeah.
So I thought to myself, I'm like talking to a pinhole in front of the camera. What do you say to someone in the pinhole, right?
Yes.
So when I decided that if I'm scared, then that's not gonna help anything. So one of the first thing I did was to conquer my fear. Was imagine that behind the scene, right, of that pinhole and beyond, and that there's someone that there's this one person that will just care enough to hear me out.
Yes.
So I just be the best for that one person, and
it's such a wonderful space to begin.
And of course, you know, as a believer of God, right, it's like, okay, you're giving me a mouth to speak. Let me speak with some value and content and learning that you may have. So like today, I teach you about a neckline. And so that was a struggle I went through.
And something like that, if after you share it, it's just gonna, you know, what about yourself? How has been?
So how about yourself? Was it something that you struggled with this year?
Exactly. Then I would tell you about my exact same issue with training from face to face to online.
Oh.
Yes, because training stopped like this overnight.
Oh wow.
Right? Yeah, because everything was shut down. So I was one of the last trainer to onboard training online because I resisted it with every single bit of fiber of in my body. I just I can't do this. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So you know, with the space, with the setup, it was just not something I wanted to step into.
Okay.
Right. So that was a huge transition. Yeah. So just like that, it would open up. You know, the conversation.
So now that you have, you know, successfully transited online.
No, going back face to face.
You should go back face to face.
I was like, with safe distance measure is like, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So it's quite funny. I was saying like before, when COVID just started, we were complaining about online. Now face to face come back, we're complaining now. Can we please stay online?
Well,
it's just
you get the best of both worlds now.
Yes, but there are the differences, So I think that there's just a simple things like that. Like, because sometimes people say, I've got nothing to say, like we have nothing in common. But sometimes you don't know until you try.
That's true.
Right.
So I guess today, right, I mean, I have not experienced your parenting or your coaching or your counseling through your leadership development track.
Right.
Okay. But the fact that you decided today to even show up with intention to share with me what it takes to build meaningful connection. Right. I think the first thing is when we show up and be intentional and be on time, be present. I think that's really a begins a meaningful journey.
Yes.
And Rose of Sharon is all about bringing joy and beauty to women. And other than our apparels, okay, that showcases our personality, the colors. We actually have very, very interesting customs and personalities that, you know, they are as real as you and me. We have our thoughts and our struggles. But if you're willing to open up ourselves and learn, we can begin this journey of meaningful connections and bringing joy and beauty to others.
Yes, absolutely. And I think even though we seemingly are in different industries, but I think I love what you shared about the Ren. I think just in serving different aspects of one personality, right? We're so complex, but at the end of the day, it's really about connection, because I truly believe that that's how we're wired to flourish. Is to connection.
That's really great. And so I think that's our time for today, right? And maybe there's one thing or one thought that you'd like to share with audience. What would one quote or something
About Chinese New Year?
about relationships? It's about your parting word, you know, your wisdom of the day.
Yeah, I run by be it parenting, be it marriage, be it relationship, is not about being perfect. It's about being present, right? It's because the now, the here and now is really all that we have.
Wow.
Right, and I'm sure you have 10 billion things that you can do in like even Chinese New Year, right?
So true.
But yet we chose to make this time and commitment to be here to share with each other.
Yes.
To share with the audience, and I think it's a gift to myself, to you, and to audience that we are fully present wherever we are, with whoever we are. So
thank you
for this space.
And to just add on to that, you know, I had a wisdom learning today from a friend of mine, also a good friend. So he shared that if we are present today and we give our best today, when tomorrow comes, you always have a good yesterday.
Oh, I love that.
You like that?
I love that.
You love that?
I love that. Yes. That means it's in your hands.
It's in your hands.
It's all in your hands.
So if you make that meaningful connection every time, be it at your work, if you're another person, you will always have a good yesterday. And you know what? When tomorrow comes, you know it'll be a good day.
Yes.
So we have audience questions. Let's kind of take a look at it. We do.
I'll be curious.
I'll be curious. Do you even have a question?
Thank you for sending in. It's like,
we have a question. Yes. So, deep relation starts with a decision. Yes, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you. Totally agree.
I totally agree.
Yes.
So, if there's no burning question, all right, let's do a 人字.
Correct. Mine's the taller one. Is it? Where I am. There you go.
This is taller this way, or this is
correct.
or this other way?
This is the other way. Depending on which angle we're coming from. Okay, now we've got both this way and this way. There you go. Yeah, all covered.
So, you know, meaningful connections, being present, right? Starts with a good intention and follow through. And so, if you make that deep connections today, when tomorrow comes, you will have a beautiful yesterday. So, with this, thank you for your time. My name is Yenny and Cheesiah Chang. And blessed Chinese
New Year. See you.